What's going on, guys? So today on this SHOKY Transformers review, we're going to be looking at something new from the Studio Series 86 movie line, and it is Leader Class Grimlock and Autobot Wheelie. I don't know how Wheelie was technically an Autobot, but it is what it is. And this is the first true Leader Class that I feel we've gotten in quite some time, because in the past, with the last three War for Cybertron series, we've only gotten leaders that are basically Voyagers with a whole bunch of stuff. And I talked about that with the Hot Rod review last time about how he's a deluxe that comes with stuff, therefore he's a Voyager. No. And I guess in theory, Double Dealer would have been considered an actual leader class because he was actually a big bot. But Optimus, not a leader class. He's actually a Voyager, a big Voyager, or a Voyager with stuff. And that is truly annoying. So Grimlock, as we'll see here very shortly, as you can even tell by the box is huge, is a real leader class. So we got Grimlock and Wheelie right there. Movie logo there, all the things around the side, all the stuff. 8+, hey, that's me. I'm in the middle of that. And by the way, number 6 in the line, I don't know who number 5 is. It might be Scourge. Got leader class down there. Classe leader, Klaus Leiter. Cool. Come around to the back, and you got bot mode and Dino mode. Big screen inspired. Yeah, no kidding. Mockery of justice. Yep. And then Grimlock and the Dinobots storm the Quintesson courtroom. Yes, they did. That was a thing that happened. Backdrop is included. Yeah, no kidding. That's what the whole thing tells me over and over. And of course, very nice image on the side. And you got the 86 logo there. By the way, the backdrop is totally in there. So that's the thing. So let's bring out the big king himself. Alright, guys, so here we have. Sorry, I'm dropping stuff. We have the Grim Mead Boy, all big and luscious. And when I said this is a leader, this guy is huge. I think he's about 3/4 the size of the MP Grimlock. That's nuts. And for comparison, there's Wally. He's huge. Like I said, a real leader class. And this is just in his Dino mode, which is very, very G1, but with, they've got some added details and stuff, especially here on the leg/arm. You got extra vents and crap. I'm going to be honest, I don't think they needed a whole lot of surface detail. I think the same thing is true with Jazz and with Cup. Hot Rod doesn't have that much in the way of surface detail, so it is what it is. But I think for Dino mode, they could have gone simpler. They could have really smoothed it out. And I think less people would have cared, to be totally honest. Does look good. It's got gold paint here. Blue painted eyes, I think. Yeah, or translucent. Either way. Not light piped, which is good. Does not have screw hole covers, which is something Hasbro really should work on with some of their better lines. Red paint here, which is fine. Autobot Tampo right there. And another one inside that spot, but it is good. You've got red, green, and blue back here. Regular paints and some nice blue metallics. The tip of the tail here is some oddball other color, and then you get really bad gaps. So that part kind of sucks. Oh, I forgot about the black paint right there. And also, weapon storage. Took me forever to figure out how his gun stored. Not that he ever needed it in Dino mode, but I noticed that he had these 2 big tabs on the rifle. I was like, okay, those are for storage. It took me forever to actually find that. I'm not entirely certain they weren't in the instructions, because I didn't really consult the instructions. So if you guys are unaware, whenever I get brand new stuff, for the most part, I will try to fiddle with it right out of the box. And the patrons totally get to see that. So they already got to see me mess with this guy and stuff. So one thing that's neat, of course, is his Dino mode. He does have articulation. So his head does move up and down like that. Mouth does open. Also will come unlatched if you're not careful. He does have a bluish point inside there. I don't have any handy, so I can't show you that off, but just know that if you have a bluish that is compatible, it will totally work in there, which is neat. His T-Rex arms have this gigantic, incredibly tight ball joint, which I think, while nice, is very limited, and be very careful. Like I said, it is super tight. And then this hinge here, but then no rotation up here, which would have been actually much better in my opinion. But that's pretty good. One thing that's new is the ability to turn his head. Let's just face it this way, because that way you get the actual good side. And then, yeah, that's cool. No center rotation, like you would think. No tail movement. It is what it is. And the legs do move, because they are, of course, the robot mode arms. So heavy ratchets, kind of, can move all the way around, can come out straight. I will say that ratchet feels like crap. It's stiff, but it feels like crap. You do have rotation, which is cool. And something that's sort of new is you get some knee bend. And that's on a slight ratchet. So that's new. And then you get the toes, which do move, and they are painted gold. So that's kind of cool. And you can do it with the slight leg bend here, or go full straight. Slight leg bend does look a little bit better, even though I don't think they ever really utilize their leg joints in dyno mode. There's a little bit of hollowness, just a little bit. It's actually worse in bot mode, but that's still pretty good. Now for comparison, here he is. Got the only other Grimlock I have in dyno mode, and the DX9 version. It was a bit more cartoon accurate, but in the movie they did add a little bit more detail. So this is a legend scale version, which is a big legend because it is Grimlock. So you can see very different. And one thing I was being very critical about this one was the chunkiness, like this huge, clunk of tail. But if you compare it, it's actually kind of similar. I think the only real issue I have is this, which is technically his heel spurs. I think if you remove this and then just had a just minor filler piece right across there, he would look so much better. But if you have him in his upright dyno mode, which is, very cartoony instead of movie-y, it doesn't look bad. But if you give him a bit more of a realistic T-Rex stance, that's when it starts to look like a bit much. It starts to look a bit like a goose with his legs in the wrong spot. So I think if you keep him full upright mode, the chunk sort of blends in, and it actually isn't that bad. Also, he's so big, I have a hard time actually keeping him in frame properly. Now, of course, we do have another comparison here. Bring in Jazz. Bring in Cup. So you can see the bot mode compared to dyno mode. And then bring in Siege Prime, because it's probably the only version we're going to get. The Siege / Earthrise. So you can see it's not quite right, because obviously Grimboy stands really tall even in this mode. And then for size comparison to a car, there he is next to Hot Rod, which I did that on purpose, left him in that mode. So I think at one point you see him drive through the feet of the Dinobots, I believe. And then with a smaller car, that totally makes sense. And then a supposedly bigger truck. So this is the weird thing about, of course, the Dinobots, is their size, because they're supposed to be massive. They're not exactly massive in comparison. But you know what isn't massive at all? That's the Wheelie figure that you get. And I say figure because he does not transform, and in fact he's incredibly limited. And this is the dumbest thing they could have possibly given you. And I think actually Wheelie is supposed to be even smaller. I think Wheelie was that. He would boop Grimlock's nose. He should be smaller than even this. I mean, the head is painted incredibly well. Look at that silver and the blue in the eyes. And that is on a swivel, I believe, or just a hinge. No, it's a rotation joint with a minor hinge. Autobot Tempo on their body painted. But you can see right here, he's got a very strange ball joint that only allows this arm to come across like that and then rotate. This one is a more traditional joint, which can do that and go around, and neither elbow functions. He does have his slingshot, though. And I believe this is meant for you to basically line up a slingshot shot like that. I believe is what they're going for. The legs are stuck in a permanent sitting position, which is incredibly annoying. because if you at least want to give us a cool figure, give us real legs. It does have a peg right there that comes in handy later. Obviously, these are molded in the silver, and the orange is painted on. Orange, grapefruity color. And he does have interaction with Grimlock, especially in the Dino mode. And he will sit right here, and these pegs, as you can see them, are going to be pegging into these weird gappy holes on the back of his legs. Real quick, I'm going to point this out on Grimlock. You can see right in there, some weird discoloration and stuff, and I don't know what that's from. It almost seems like crazing or stress marks, but that would be extreme stress, so I don't know what would be causing that. So anyways, back to our little wheelie friend. So you want to spread his legs as far as you can. Realistically, that's not even a joke. And then the holes you want to just sort of line up to the post as best you can. If you get one, you can get the other started. So I've got one, and there's the other. And then that's how he rides Grimlock, in a kind of vertical sitting spot. So that's where, oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. That's where it wants you to liven it up a little bit. So it's fine if you want to sit there, but that doesn't look anywhere near as good. Like, it's almost better to have him sit, like, back here. You know? You could totally sit there, and it's actually more like an actual seat. But neither way is really that good, if I'm honest with you. So, I guess I didn't realize, given how Grimlock is, you can utilize him in a different way. Oh, I really did pop everything out of whack there. So, since these are his robot shoulders, that is actually what the peg on his thigh is for, is to plug this in right here. So you can, in fact, have him sitting on Grimlock like this. Normally I would do that in robot mode, but, yeah, it works too here. It did not consider that when I transformed him. So, speaking of which, let's go ahead and get him transformed up. And I always forget where to start. I think we want to start with the legs. Could be wrong. Because so many versions of Grimlock transform the same way, and then this one is just ever so slightly different. Because I don't think you have to do the legs first. I think we can start with the head. So let's pop the head back. No problem, like you do. Go ahead and separate the chest. And one thing that's neat is you do have a hinge right here that will help you clear things. You can just spread the wings and fly. Bring the robot head up just past that point there. And then grab where the legs were, and this will just rock up on that double hinge and connect like so. And then you can bring back down the Grimlock head. Just sort of set it however you want to. And then for the arms, literally just fold out the hands, make sure it clicks. Ah, mother! That's going to bleed again. Yep, that hit right in the middle of that cut. That's going to start bleeding again. Ah, dang it. Of course, it's Grimlock that makes me bleed today. So, it is. Let's get him finished transformed up, and then I will deal with that. Okay, so for the legs, go ahead and split them like so. And you want to come down here, utilize that hinge, rock the leg out and through that hole. Straighten out your legs. Oh, wow, that is really bleeding now. Okay, so go ahead and grab here, flip this down, fill in the gap, close that up, and then grab all this and hinge it up and tab into place. And set Grimlock down so you can go deal with the bleeding thumb. Okay, now that I've got that bandage back up again, and by the way, that actually hurt a lot worse since I whacked it with the since I initially injured it, that would probably hurt worse. Okay, so you can see this better here. So we can get this open. And then you've got this little bump out tab right here. Hold on, I gotta do some Well, I was trying to reposition the light. It didn't really want to be repositioned. Okay, so when you bring this up, obviously it kind of does this. I didn't realize it actually slides over, and then there's the clippy that tabs into. So, cool. And then once again, we come back here, as I was rushing through it last time. This big red double hinge, I don't know why it needs to be red. You don't see it. And then that claps in there. That's a very nice way to hide the tail. I'm not going to lie. And then you swing this around, you got a tab and a slot. Not that it really does that much. This really does a little bit more. So you can see here, if you eliminated this heel spur section, you could do something here. Or if you gave it a smaller thing that would tuck inside here. So I kind of expect, I don't know if that's pinned or that's just clipped in there. So part of me expects that down the line, some third-party company or some printer will come through and create a bit that will fit inside here that will work a little bit nicer. But there we go. We have a big-ass Grimmosaurus Rex. Oh yeah, I forgot to break out the elbows. There we go. In his ginormous robot mode. And like I said, he's a big boy. Like, really big. Oh, the other thing back here. If you come back to here, you can bring this all the way down. Tuck that in. And straighten out the head. It's kind of a thing on whether or not you want the head tucked away. If you want to, you can even tuck the arms back. Or if you want them up. You know, it's kind of on you. However you like your Grimmosaurus Rex. Grimlock. However you want your Grimlock to do. But yeah, he looks good. Looks really good. I think these shoulders are the only thing that bothers me because classically Grimlock's shoulders are round and they made these kind of octagonal in a way. And there's no butterfly joint, which I believe is probably one of the missed opportunities here. But you still get the flip out joint just like you did before. Everything works the same except, as I pointed out so very briefly, now you had the dino knee, which was here, and it flips that way. Now you have an elbow that unclips and flips that way. So that's the only thing they changed up that really makes it to where you don't have to rotate the leg around to make it work. Now the only other thing I wish they would do is find a way to close the claws. Because that's something that virtually every version can do. Either close them or like this all slides up and then you can close the claws out. It only bothers me a bit that they're stuck that way. His fists don't open. They're locked in place as they are. You do get your waist joint now, which is cool. And you got your big chunky legs. Now it's fine if his robot mode legs are chunky. That really doesn't make a difference. But I do think this needs to be smaller. That's just a little much in my opinion there. And it doesn't really tab in worth a damn either. Of course, if you utilize the ankle rocker, which is amazing in and of itself, that's great. The toes don't point in any other way. So that's just how that is. Now, his head, I didn't really point out, looks fine. That's very Grimlocky. You can bring this way the heck up for no apparent reason, but you can. And this rotates. It's fine. And metallic blue painted eye visors, which is good. Thank God they didn't go with anti-translucent. Now, big problem here is this bit here, which is so dark you can't see the Autobot logo that is painted and everything inside. IMGO and other reviewers have totally pointed that out, that it is a problem. However, you can come back here. I need a spudger. Hold on. Get your spudger, and you should be able to just pop it out. It's not screwed in place, it's just plugged in. So if you work it a little bit, you should be able to pop this off. Is there another gap somewhere? See, the obvious part is it's translucent, so you don't want to pry too hard. But you can get that out. Let me double check. Hold on. Let me pull this down and around. No, there's no screws or anything holding it in place. It's just tabbed in. Oh, come on, get up there. There you go. Also, trying to do this with one of my thumbs not necessarily working. is slightly difficult, if I'm honest. Come on. You know you want to let go. By the way, I did pick him up at Target. I didn't mention that. Probably available at some Walmarts too, but I only saw him at Target. That is in there. I know you can technically remove that, but it is really in there on mine, and I'm scared to break it, if I'm honest. So if it bothers you, you should be able to get it out of there with a little bit more prying than I can do with this. Now, one last thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention it. Cool thing is the wings can adjust. So you can get it up and be like ridiculous. You can have it just back however you want to. You can have it like super tight on the arms. That's actually a thing that almost no Grimlocks have. They're just sort of always in the way. Actually giving them somewhere to go is pretty cool, and have the ability to hinge in multiple directions. Something that even this guy right here, this little really good version from DX9, is dirty, does not have. And so that's a version in the Legends class. That's my only other Grimlock I have. I no longer have the old ones. Also, you could do the arms down, I guess, if you want to. And we need some other bots to compare them to, such as Optimus. So that's a pretty good size comparison, I think, to Optimus. Okay, I don't have enough room to work here. It's like, that's kind of a problem when you bring out a big bot. There's Jazz, who's the shortest so far of the 86 line. And Cup. Which I think all work. And once again, bringing up the idea that this is really a leader class. And then even if you bring in this little guy. You can set him on either shoulder, just depends on what you want to do. But I think he works out better on the left side here. Come on, Wheelie. I almost called him Ollie. I remember that that's a third-party version of Wheelie. He's named Ollie. So this is fantastic. And of course, you can give him his big old rifle, which has a very stubby handle, which is weird. Kind of wish they had done a flip-out peg. Has a nice gap here, as though something else should go there. It's really sweet, you know. And then the tabs that we used for dyno mode have zero effect here, but you can plug that in. Now he does have one extreme missing bit, and I'm not talking about the inside here, because this is terrible. They could have definitely did this. No other big gaps anywhere on this bot. Giant forearm gaps. That's annoying in and of itself. They could have spring loaded something. Anything here, a flap, something. That is so annoying. So third-party companies, get on that filler. But no, what I was trying to say is, he doesn't have a sword. Now, I know in the movie, he likely didn't use a sword. In fact, I don't believe he ever transforms in the movie. I think he's in dyno mode the entire time, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of comes down to, like, is that an accessory that's worth it? Now, I fully expect, once again, a third-party company to come along and give us his sword, probably some filler bits, and then maybe some smaller heel spurs to fill in that gap and make the dyno mode look a little bit better. Also, some screw covers would be great. Now, one thing that's interesting, he has 5mm ports on the legs. Now, I don't know what that's all about. He also has 5mm ports on the arm. So in theory, you could weaponize him with weaponizers, I guess. You know, even here, there. And then, for some reason, back here. So I do believe that they gave you the ability to use weaponizers with Grimlock. And I'm seeing a ton of striations right through there on this silver metallic plastic. So hopefully this guy will not give in to metallic plastic syndrome. It's not even gold plastic syndrome anymore. It's like metallic plastic syndrome, because even the gold bits here are all painted. So that's something you don't necessarily have to worry about. But as it goes, I thought this was going to be a crappy figure. In the original images and stuff, I thought that the chunkiness involved with the legs, especially in dyno mode, was going to be a problem. I thought the proportions looked a little funny, and they do, but I think it's mostly down to the way the elbows work. And I kind of wish that the shoulders were round, not chunky. I think they would look a little bit cleaner. But overall, this is the best Grimlock we've gotten in a long time. And I didn't want it. In fact, if I bought it, I was going to sell it. Now I'm going to keep him. Because one thing that I've said about these 86 line so far is the bots really do clean up nice. And that's something we could not say for previous lines. Stuff in the Generations line doesn't clean up this nice. There's kibble, there's big hunky chunks of bot hanging out of some other places. But for me, this 86 line, maybe it's because it's a studio series, they're really doing a good job of making sure that they come out clean and fairly well accurate, where other ones they don't really care. I still think that Cup's head is the worst accuracy problem we've gotten so far, but it's still not terrible, especially compared to previous versions of Cup. Like Titan's Return version wasn't that good. But guys, let me know what you think down below. What is your favorite version of Grimlock that Hasbro has actually put out? Because sometimes they just forget that Grimlock's even a thing. And of course, please tell me they're going to give us more of the Dinobots in this scale, because I would love that. I mean, I love my tiny dinos, but I would love good sized dinos that are mostly accurate and look good in both robot mode and dino mode. And that's something I think this line is definitely doing. They're actually getting both modes really well done. But the dumbest accessory is Wheelie. If you have the Titans Return Wheelie, good for you. I don't. But guys, I will catch you next time. Make sure you go look at all the other Studio Series 86 reviews as it is. I've got it more than I expected. I guess go look at the other ones from, Siege and stuff like that too, if you really want to. And the Taro video, of course, it will be a transform and rollout video for Grimlock as well, to get him back into Dino mode, because it now comes to the thing. Do I want him in Dino mode or Bot mode? Because Bot mode actually looks really good. So let me know, what do you think? Which would you keep him in? But I'll see you guys next time. Remember, as always, keep on nerding.